So, hi, I am Victoria. I'm Miss Know-it-all, and let's get on with it, shall we? Yeah. So, like I mentioned on my last video, I've been struggling quite a bit in the past 9 months. Just things were rough for the longest of time. Unemployment, and then I started a new job, and it's just a lot. It was just a lot, and I was just kind of like struggling. But here's the thing. And I am sincerely concerned about the state of humanity because I fear that it's just one too many people is just saying, oh, I'm struggling. And they just kind of like give up. Or they use it as a blank statement to just get away with everything and get away with just giving up. I'm sorry, but it is. A lot of people, they just are like, there is this, okay, I have this issue with a lot of things, like with people that, I'm having allergies because it's spring season. You don't want to know about it. The other day, I left the window open because I was painting the desk, and first thing in the morning, my eye was like this big. I couldn't open it. It was the little things that were floating. It looks like cotton, and now I cannot breathe. Anywho, coming back to struggle, I have this issue with people who use regular stuff like trauma, struggle, difficulties, human experiences that we all go through, to just be a dick without respect, to be a wench, to be horrible, or just to give up, or just to justify their vices, to put it in a way, to put it mildly. For example, you probably have that friend. You always have, at least at one point in time, they may not be your friend still, but that one friend or acquaintance that you just know that they're just growing fat, and they have all of them. Their house is a mess. They never clean their floor. They never clean their teeth. They never shower. But never. It's not just, oh, I'm going through a season. No. I'm not saying, oh, you're depressed. You're going through a lot. This is a season. No. When I'm talking, it's the other way around. It is a constant behavior. Whatever negative constant behavior, an addiction, a self-destructive tendency, a self-destructive behavior, or just plain old being cruel and evil to everyone around you. And they're just like, oh, I'm just going through a lot. Oh, I'm struggling with this. Oh, I'm struggling with that. And they just do no efforts whatsoever to improve or to be better. Never. Or at least if they do, it's when they get scolded a little bit and they just fall back into their old habits a few weeks later. I don't think if this is like triggering you, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying someone, for example, like the mother that it was being scolded on the internet for having 17 diapers all around. No, I'm not saying that. That is normal. You go through struggle, you're going to have a moment of chaos. Before construction, there is destruction, okay? You might be grumpy a couple of times. You may be tired for a while. You may be going through a lot and overeat. I do it all the time. But that's the thing. Struggling implies that you are battling something. I am talking about the people who do not battle those impulses, those instincts, those things. They do not battle. And it takes a while to actually take it into account that they're not battling anything. They're just using it as an excuse, the struggle. This is the thing. It's not that, oh, they're struggling, therefore there is a situation and everything is chaos because they're struggling. No. Everything is chaos and they use struggle as an excuse for chaos. And they have no intentions, taking no efforts whatsoever to ever change their behavior. And they just get worse with years. And by this, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but one thing is like having a season in which you're just feeling terrible, and sometimes years, yes, in which you're feeling terrible. But when you are actually struggling, you're battling. You're actively like battling something. Whether it's depression, financial situation, you're battling something and you have like spurs of absolute chaos and spurs in which you're trying to fight against it. And you take a shower, you wash your teeth, you try to get your shit together. You try. What I'm talking about is about the people who never try, never change, but they always say, oh, I'm just struggling. I have been through so much. I have trauma. Oh, you will never understand because no one in the world has ever suffered such as myself. And you're just like, sweetie, you have no idea what I've been through. What are you talking about? With all due respect, what are you talking about? Just, I have met people like that, and it saddens me, especially when they are very close to my heart, because they could be easily a decade like that, and they just get worse. And there is people on the outside try to make an effort for them. They try to help them, but that person in particular does not want to improve. I remember when I was a kid, my dad was many things. An alcoholic was one of them. So I grew up essentially in addiction centers, watching people of all addictions just walk through life, grief, and addiction. And one thing I learned, marijuana, don't mess with that shit. It's really a lot more than people just want, even doctors want to admit to themselves. Another thing I learned is that learning to say no, it's vital. And another thing I learned is that people change if they want to change. And sometimes people just use certain things as an excuse. There was this, and ironically I was like 8, and there was this father of another girl of my same age that he wanted to recover himself from his alcoholism because he didn't want that his girl saw him like that. And then it hit me. I was less valuable to my dad than a bottle. Because the reality is that my dad was not the kind of people who wanted to change. He was being forced by his employer, forced by us to go, but he didn't want it to change because he was using alcoholism. Oh, I'm just struggling, that's why I'm an alcoholic. And then when he was in state of drunkenness, he could be violent. It's just like, he would use all of these layers of excuses just to be violent and to be cruel. And it was something that you would tell, because then it came to a point in which he would be violent even when he was sober. But because he was like that, he was just using excuses. He was using socially acceptable excuses to be wicked, to be cruel, to be evil, to be deranged, to go around naked, to do all these kind of things. And yes, the destructive behaviors were just a cover-up. And then he would say, oh no, it's just I went through so much in my childhood. And he would use that pity in the sake of his own behaviors. And the more of an adult I am, I'm more like, and ironically, I'm more deeply entrenched into the same belief that I came around when I was 8 of, yeah, people who want to change. People are just using sometimes excuses. And this is something I had to come across with when I was in the university, and I was an assistant for the department of psychiatry and mental health. And with my professor, we had to do a research on addictions. And I remember the therapist of the group were like, oh, this treatment works better, this treatment form works better. And I was so against that argument, because I was like, none of those work unless the patient wants to work with the therapy. And they were like, no, Victoria, you don't understand. I don't know what is it with people looking at me and thinking I'm stupid. Like, flat out stupid. Like, I've never been through anything. But even in my youngest years of college, I've already gone through so much before that. Like, I already have quite a bit of a life experience, but I don't know why. And even when I left my grays grow out, people would still treat me like I'm dumb. So no, it's not going to improve with old age. They just treat me like I'm dumb. And a lot of the therapists in the group would be like, no, Victoria, it's just you lack knowledge in the matter, because this treatment has been proven that it has worked better, and this treatment it has proved it was better. And I was so tired. And at the time I argued, I would like to see if any of those studies has reported how much was the will of the patient to change. Because this is the thing. I don't think people really change unless they want to. It doesn't really matter what label the world of psychology, the world has given you. It doesn't really matter. You only change only if you want to. Like, maybe in that I'm a little bit too Catholic, but I'm a strong believer of free will. You have free will to ruin your life, just like you have free will to do harm, to do good, and to improve your life. That's a great responsibility. It's a horrible responsibility. It's just like freedom is the most terrifying and at the same time most burdensome and most important responsibility and duty. And it's so much that it can easily overwhelm any creature. And at the same time, it's our greatest gift and our greatest curse, because I think people are usually anxious because when things are outside of their free will, or when they're completely inside of your free will. Like, imagine this. You're anxious either when things don't really depend on you. Like, for example, I'm anxious of losing my job because that really doesn't depend on me. It really doesn't. But because I'm a good employee. But if it was completely on my free will, I would also be anxious, because it's just like I have to do so much just to make sure everything turns out right. But it's just like in both scenarios, whether things depend or not, or do not depend on your free will, how things turn out, it's anxiety inducing. Why? Because it's a responsibility. Responsibilities are scary. And I think that's why a lot of people try to avoid responsibility with social excuses. Especially because facing the fact that they're choosing to be self-destructive is also admitting that they're choosing to be self-destructive, both outside and inside. So it's not like they're the victim of circumstance. They're responsible for what they have chosen to be and to do. And responsibility is so tricky. It's so tricky. So yeah. some very cruel people will use whatever excuse they can find just to be cruel, out of shape, or just self-destructive and just destructive. There's people, let's face it, because this is something you can give it the labels you want. I don't give a bloody crap. I do, however, have an issue with how people are misusing labels as, and this is the same thing with the word idiot. People tend to use medical terms as insults, and they just lose all meaning. People use actual words. People forget. There is a reason why spells and spelling are the same word. Words are important. There are spells. They create meaning. Let's not get too Lacanian, but your language will change and shift the perception of reality. I don't want you to use psychological terms. Oh, narcissist, psychopath. No, because we're just misusing words. We're just misusing them. Okay? And even if you were using them properly, does it really matter? Does it hurt? Is it cruel? Is it something that they have chosen to do? Which is, I think, one of the... Oh, that could be a topic for another day. People choose to be cruel. And this is something that a lot of people, victims, horrible things, don't really want to face, is that people have free will and they have chosen to be evil to you. And that's hard, you know? So yeah, don't allow yourself to use excuses and to use, if you're struggling, you're struggling. Don't misuse the term. You're fighting against those demons. You're getting up, and at the very least, you're trying to, I don't know, maybe not clean the whole house, but at least clean the dishes, for the love of God. Make sure that the things you're eating from are somewhat clean, because no one wants to eat bacteria. Please don't, especially if you have children. The toilet, every now and then, please clean it. The basin of the hand washer where you wash your teeth and your environment. I'm not saying you should do a deep cleaning. I'm saying every day try to clean one thing. I'm not saying all of it. Just, I don't know, on top of your fridge. What's on top of your fridge? What's in front of your fridge? Especially if you're a person who clutters. What's in the hallway? And if you cannot battle the whole hallway on one single day, if you cannot address the whole hallway because it's too much, okay, let's tackle the first 2 meters or the first meter of the hallway. Just today. You do 1 meter at a time. And it may not sound like much, and you might think, but Victor, by the time I finish, some other things will already be dirty. Yes, but this is the thing with struggle. If you're telling me that you're struggling, that means you're going to battle. I'm not saying it's not going to last forever. It may look like it's never-ending battle. But if you just give up, then you're not struggling. Don't misuse the word. You're just giving up. If you're just engaging in certain behaviors to justify, if you're just using trauma or using excuses to justify your behaviors, be honest with yourself. I'm not saying that you should be honest with society, but at least be honest with yourself. And please do not do harm. This is sort of like this space is sort of like the Bible. You're gonna say, but what about people who choose to be evil? We're not addressing those people. People who are choosing to be evil, they're choosing to be evil. People who are choosing to be alcoholics so they can justify beating the living crap out of his wife and torturing his children. That individual is evil. I'm not going to address the devil. The devil is not my concern. The devil is choosing to be evil. It's just, they have made their choice. Someone like that has already made their choice. Someone who chooses to be, even against all odds and evidence, chooses to be misogynistic, someone who chooses to be cruel or pathetic. There's people who choose to be pathetic. Would you believe that? I have seen that, especially in politics. I've seen both in the lowest levels of society and the highest level of society. There's people who choose to be pathetic. There's people who choose to be cruel. There's people who choose to be good. I have seen it all, almost. And for God's sake, I don't want to see any more. It's just, I feel I have seen a lot. I just don't want to see any more. I don't want to see any more evil anymore. I just want to see good. Please, if you're struggling, fight, because there is a reason why you call it struggle, because you're fighting. I would like to assume if you're not fighting, then you're not struggling. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. So before you can claim the virtue of, oh, I'm a warrior, oh, I'm struggling, fight. For the love of God, fight. It's just, if you're too much of an atheist, at least fight for yourself and your loved ones. Or at least if you're not going to fight for yourself and your loved ones, at least fight for the sake of having the social moral high ground to say, I'm struggling. Because how can you say that you're struggling when you're doing nothing at all about it? I'm not saying that, you should whip yourself for not doing quote unquote enough. It's just, at least you should struggle a little bit. You should fight back a little bit. I have seen one too many people use the word, oh, I am like this because I have trauma. Oh, I'm like this because I'm struggling. And it's just, you can tell, especially when time goes by, they're not struggling. They're not fighting. They're just indulgent in their misery, in their victimhood. And in that cocoon of just, oh, I'm a poor child of misery and misfortune. Oh. And I'm like, okay. Oh, you don't understand. I'm struggling. I've never seen you fight a single day of your life. I've seen you pretty self-indulgent in your miserable filth. I haven't seen you struggle a single time. I haven't seen you wash yourself a single time. I haven't seen any attempts of you to improve. So why should I think that you are actually struggling when you seem pretty happy with your filth and your misery and your position in life? So are you truly struggling if you're happy with it? I know it may sound, this whole video, to some people it may sound like it's just too heartless, but I don't think you have seen the things I've seen. I have seen people struggle, like God honestly struggle, going through a lot. I have been myself through a lot of struggle, but we fight back. What I'm talking about is about the people who choose to blame and to pity and to choose, and they're just indulgent in this very lavish and self-indulgent attitude of, oh, I'm struggling, but they never fight back. They never do any single attempt to fight back. They never try to find a job. They never, and when they do, because someone gets them a job, I know, crazy. They do not accept it. They do not choose to do that. They do not want to improve. They don't want to stop being unemployed. They do not want to lose the weight. They do not want to clean the house. They're not struggling because they're happy where they are. And that is also hard to accept when it's a loved one of yours. And it's not within your duty to change that person or to help them, because it is their duty to do that. And I'm sorry if you're struggling and you feel like this wench on the internet, she doesn't know what she's talking about. For the love of God, shut up. I'm not talking about you if you're truly struggling and you're trying to improve. You're trying to find a job. Be honest with yourself if you're trying. And if you're trying, if you're not finding, then yes, you're struggling because you're trying. I'm talking about the people who doesn't try. And even when they're given the chance, even when they're given something in a silver platter, they don't take it. They don't choose it. They don't like it. They don't want it. Because they're not struggling. They're just happy the way they are. And if you know someone like this and you love them, I pity you. I know what it feels like. We all have a friend, a relative, someone who is not that they just have given up. They're comfortable like that. Like people, I realized that maybe I misused the words before. It's not that they have given up. They're comfortable like that. It is their comfort zone. And they don't want to leave it. So are they struggling? No. They're happy like that. And whenever you try to take them outside of that environment, out of that state, they fight you. And you're the bad guy. And it's just... And then you, with the years and even with the struggles and losing jobs and everything, you keep improving. And then they get jealous on you. And then they just die on you. And just like... You're choosing to be where you are. You're choosing that. Oh, but you don't understand. I've been through so much. Just like... So did I. Please. Stop being like that. That's not an excuse. And with the years, they just get worse because they have chosen that. And you cannot force people to choose any better for themselves. That's another thing with free will. It is up to them. And if they don't want to improve, can you help them change? No, you cannot. So... I'm sorry, but focus on yourself if you're going through that. Improve yourself. Who knows? Maybe they will follow you because you're leading with example. Or I don't know. They'll hate you because they're jealous. I don't know. I don't know. Please be safe, everyone. I hope this has been somewhat helpful. And I'm so sorry if I hurt your feelings, but if I did, think why. Because what I'm talking about is not about the people who struggle. I'm talking about the people who struggle. So, yeah. Stay safe, everyone, and as healthy as you can possibly can afford to be. And, yeah. Sending you, everyone, a big old hug. And till next time, bye-bye.